In every new edition of Super Smash Bros., we get new Pokemon as playable characters in the game. However, for the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we don't know of any new Pokemon that's going to be joining the roster yet. Sure, we're getting a couple of returning characters such as Pokemon Trainer and the one that everybody loves, Pichu, but those aren't original Pokemon and are just ones that are returning from the past. And while I think that we really only have the potential to get one more Pokemon character included in Smash Ultimate, I am going to list many ideas in this video, as obviously with a huge amount of Pokemon that there are, there's going to be a ton of choices to be had, so I hope I end up nailing one of them in this video. I also strongly encourage you to leave what Pokemon you'd like to see in Smash Ultimate in the comments down below. And with that being said, let's get started. The first Pokemon that I'm going to talk about today is Decidueye. This is a Pokemon that I've talked about in the past, and one of two Generation 7 starters that I'm going to be talking about today. In terms of why fans are really requesting for Decidueye to be included, well, I think one of the main reasons is Decidueye and the Rowlet line in general is probably the most popular out of the Generation 7 starter lines, and it was really hyped up before we got the reveal of Pokemon Trainer being back in Smash Ultimate, because we had Charizard as a fire starter, Greninja, who was included in Smash 4, introduced for that game as a water starter, and people really wanted a grass starter to sort of round out that trio, and they thought that Decidueye would definitely fit the bill. He's a popular character, he would have an extremely unique concept by using the bow and arrows, as well as some of the spookiness that comes from his secondary ghost typing. It would all make sense, but when Pokemon Trainer got revealed, and we've gotten that trio of Charizard, Squirtle, and Ivysaur back, that desire to have a grass type starter in the game to complete that trio has sort of diminished, and I don't think we should be focusing on that aspect of Decidueye as much anymore. Still, though, Decidueye would be great to have in Super Smash Bros. As unique character concept. That's definitely what the team looks for when they try to determine which characters to include in the game. I figure since we're already on the topic of Generation 7 starters, I'm just going to move on to the next one. Let's talk about Incineroar. I'm not including Primarina in this video just because of the shape of the Pokemon. I just can't see that concept working in Smash. Incineroar, on the other hand, on paper, seems to be built to be included in a game like Super Smash Bros. Literally, just look at this guy. He's not a firefighting type starter, although he looks like he should be. The decision was probably just made not to piss off all those people who were upset that there was 3 firefighting starters in a row. But the concept of Incineroar is based off of a wrestler, and he has some of the dark aspects in his moveset as well. His appearance looks like he should be included in a fighting game. This is definitely a great idea for a wrestling cat-like Pokemon. However, Sakurai has stated in the past that they try not to include characters that look like they should be included in a fighting game in Super Smash Bros. Because they want to focus mostly on the Nintendo icons. But let's say he were to be included in Super Smash Bros., what types of moves would he be able to use? Dark and Fire type moves would be the main ones, as those are the same types that Incineroar is in the games. I would assume a mix of close-up, which would probably be the primary concept of attacks, but also a bunch of special attacks, because most fire type attacks are special, using moves like Flamethrower, Fire Blast, all that good stuff. I think that good final Smash ideas for both Incineroar and Decidueye is to use their exclusive Z moves from the 7th generation. These being Sinister Arrow Raid for Decidueye and Malicious Moonsault for Incineroar. These moves already have great animations designed for them that could be recreated in Super Smash Bros., as Final Smashes do tend to have this great dramatic animation designed for them to do a lot of damage to the opponent. The last Generation 7 Pokemon that I'm going to be talking about today is Lycanroc. Mostly just because this Pokemon has been getting a lot of promotion in terms of it getting the new Dusk Lycanroc form for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and it was already a Pokemon with 2 forms prior to that one, so Pokemon is definitely focusing a lot on this Lycanroc one. A pure rock type Pokemon that would be new for Super Smash Bros. In terms of types, again contributing to the uniqueness that is desired in characters. Obviously, Lycanroc would have a ton of moveset possibilities, and I believe would be a pretty fast character in the game. An issue that does come up with these Generation 7 Pokemon is that so far, the most recent character that has been revealed for Super Smash Bros. In terms of their appearance appearance in a Nintendo game is the Inklings from 2015. This is the same year that the Smash Bros. Fighter ballot was conducted. During the ballot, everybody was just clamoring for Inkling to be included in Smash Bros. 4, and now it's eventually being included in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but that is the most recent character debut now being included in Smash Ultimate. So you'd have to think, is 2015 like that cutoff line for the starting roster for the game, and any character introduced past 2015 would have to be included post-launch for Smash Ultimate? Well, you do have to take into consideration that Pokemon is a very big series, and they may be an exception to this rule. If this rule is indeed a thing, Pokemon Sun and Moon only came out a year later, and while Dusk Lycanroc was included for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, meaning that he might have a slightly lower chance to be included in Smash Ultimate, and Incineroar and Decidueye would definitely still have a chance to be included, even if this rule remains in place, considering that Greninja was being developed for Smash before X and Y had been released, and at the time that the Pokemon Company asked Sakurai to put Greninja into this game, all they had were some basic artwork concepts for this Pokemon, and not too much else to go off of. And I'm definitely certain that there were concepts floating around for the starter Pokemon for the 7th generation the year before the games had released, and probably even much before that as well. So there's definitely a possibility for Decidueye and Incineroar, and possibly even Lycanroc in his Dusk form, or maybe even the other forms of Lycanroc, to be included in Smash Ultimate, even if this rule is staying in place. Moving on to something outside of the 7th generation, let's scale it all the way back to Generation 1. I talked about Gengar in a video on unique characters for Smash Ultimate, and because I talked about him in a fairly recent video, I'm not going to dwell too much on him here, but Gengar would obviously have a unique moveset compared to some of the other characters in the game, probably focusing more on range attacks since Gengar specializes on special attacks in the Pokemon series. Ghost and Poison type Pokemon, again, a unique type combination to be included in Smash Ultimate compared to what we have right now. A more eerie Pokemon to give contrast to some of the light-hearted ones such as Jigglypuff, who are already in the roster. Gengar may also be included to promote Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, but if we're using the 2015 rule and those games are coming out in 2018, that may not be the reason why Gengar is going to be included in Smash Ultimate. It'd still be fun to see him anyways, though. Because starters are so much fun, let's move on to a couple of more starters. Moving on to Generation 3, we have Sceptile and Blaziken as the starters that I want to talk about in this point. I have nothing against Swampert, but I can't really see it working in Smash Bros. As well as these two. I know all the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon fans are just clamoring for me to put Grovyle instead of Sceptile on here, but no. We're just going to stick to the fully evolved forms right now. These two Pokemon definitely look like they could be agile fighters in the game. Sceptile being a grass type, again, I know we're not talking about that triangle of fire, water, grass anymore, but he would have fit into that rule if Pokemon Trainer wasn't brought back. And while we already do have a fire starter, Blaziken would definitely work out well. He has fighting as one of his types. He looks like he should be included in a fighting game. Both of these guys I could definitely see working really well in the roster. Both were included in a fighting game already in Pokémon Tournament, like Decidueye and Gengar, who I just talked about. So if they are lost for any move ideas, which they shouldn't be, as there is a ton to draw from for these two Pokemon, they could just take some ideas from Pokémon Tournaments and implement them into Smash Ultimate. I know there's so many more Pokemon that I could talk about, but I'm not going to cram so many more of them into this video. I just wanted to throw some general ideas at you, but I do have one more, and I saved it for the end because it's kind of a weird one. You see, the Pokemon Trainer concept for Smash is a very unique one. Being able to play as one of the characters that you play as in the main Pokemon games, and being able to switch out Pokemon and all that fun stuff, like a tag team mode for Smash Brothers using 3 different characters, like many people are desiring to be into the game. It's a unique idea, but what if there was another character like Pokemon Trainer being included in Smash Ultimate? Another trainer from the Pokemon universe with 3 different Pokemon instead of Charizard, Ivysaur, and Squirtle that it could use. I don't know what trainer they would use for something like this, probably Blue or somebody like that, but I do think that this one is very unlikely that they implement, considering that if they were going to give this the Echo Fighter style of treatment, you would have to find Pokemon extremely similar to Charizard, Ivysaur, and Squirtle, and selecting 3 Pokemon similar to them, while they still all have to be uniform and relatable to each other in some way to justify them being on the same trainer's team, would be very difficult, and I would think that they could not properly give this the Echo Fighter treatment and would have to give it its own character, sort of like the Fox and Falco treatment. While it's a similar concept, it's different in execution. We did recently get the announcement of Isabella as a playable character for Smash Ultimate, and if you want to see my analysis about that, click the link on the left side of the screen. And also remember to subscribe with notifications on so that you do not miss the next Super Smash Bros. Ultimate video and other Nintendo content too. Remember to leave your ideas for Pokemon and Smash in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.